are on shift tactic 5 and 6. And you're going to see that there's going to be some overlap here between probably 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, because that's the way that it works. So today's going to be about lead capture and lead conversion. So just by a quick question, what difference does, what difference does it make from a lead conversion or lead capture standpoint in a market shift versus any other market?
You need to convert your leads.
Yeah, no. So Julie said you need to convert your leads. Why?
Because they're not as plentiful.
All right. Fewer leads. Yeah, you're exactly right. So I was talking to somebody this morning. So I have a large investor client. I mean, he's 50 to 70 houses a year for at least 10 years. He's flipped. Like high net worth individual. And we put 2 properties on the market on Friday. And we have conversations about the market and about interest rates all the time. Like literally every week we're having a conversation about trends, what I'm seeing, et cetera, et cetera. So we put 2 houses on the market on Friday. Saturday at like 5 o'clock, he texts me and says, we have any contracts to review? And I'm like, no. And I put a laughing out loud emoji. I'm like, were you expecting any? And he was like, wow, you're being awful negative. And I'm like, okay, the house has been on the market for about 24 hours. And even after all the conversations we've had, you still think that we had 2 showings between the 2 properties.
So one on each house.
One on each house. So we would need 100% batting average there to get to that. I'm like, we're going back to the days, 14 to 20 days in the market's probably going to be, and that's still freaking phenomenal. Like that is amazing. And he was upset. He literally said to me, he said, drop both of them by 20 grand. I'm like, why would you want to do that? We literally just put them on the market yesterday. Well, the Fed's going to come out and they're going to raise rates again and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, we're not doing that. Relax. Chill out. And then Sunday, we actually did get an offer on one of them. So 100%. And that's the thing. We literally, I think, forgot what life was like. Anybody know the last time we saw, this is going to be a funny story, the last time we saw interest rates in the 5 or 6s?
2011, 12?
2004?
Yeah, I bought mine.
5?
I bought my house
3?
in 2004, and I bought mine at 6.
Right.
Anybody remember how great the market was in 2003, 2004?
They stuck around for a while.
Oh, yeah. We were in the 6s for a
when
while.
they started, yes. I mean, when I bought our house in 2000, I think I paid like 4 or something, high 3s or low 4s.
Yeah. But the market in 2004 was pretty good, wasn't it?
Yeah.
2005, pretty good, wasn't it?
I had 6% in 04. That's
Yeah.
when I bought my current house.
And now we're all like, oh my gosh, rates could be in a 6%. Like the world's coming to an end.
I know,
Oh my gosh.
that real quick, because I tell them the first house I bought in 1994, I paid 6.5%.
Houses may sit on the market for 14 to 20 days. Holy crap. However, you will see fewer leads. It's just not as sexy as it once was. Who doesn't want to buy a house when you're promoting interest rates at 2 3/4%? I mean, that essentially sounds like free money. Doesn't sound nearly as sexy unless you're my age and you remember 8 and 9%. That rates are at 5 1/4, which is still historically relatively cheap.
In 1989, I was peddling mortgages at 10.5%, 11%. I was in the wholesale market, and that was our.
My parents bought in 73 at like 17%.
Yeah, plus probably a couple points. So, but you are exactly right, Julie. We will see fewer leads. So that being able to convert those leads to clients, and then be able to convert those clients into transactions become critically important. So we need to button down the hatches on everything. It's not just like the last couple of years we've all had like, oh, I got maybe not sellers, but buyers, I got too many buyers that I'm working with, and we could afford to let a couple of them go away. We didn't want to, but oh, who cares? Like if one fell out of the bucket, I got 20 more that's going to come in next month. Now sellers, none of us, I don't think, have ever had that problem with sellers. But with buyers, an abundance of leads. Everybody wants to buy. The problem is I can't find them a house. Now we're going to see fewer leads. So being able to convert those leads is greater. So in a buyer's, and I don't think, so in a seller's market, low conversion rate can produce a large number of sales, which is what we've seen. Buyer's market, a low conversion rate will produce a small number of sales. I don't think we're going to shift over to a buyer's market. I just don't see that happening. I don't see inventory getting to the point where it's like we have that many houses for sale. However, I do foresee us seeing fewer leads. So shifting markets, test your skills, capturing leads, connecting, closing for an appointment, cultivation, holding your team accountable. Be prepared to script practice and role play. Why is this important during a shifted market?
Because you need to be able to answer right away when you get that
Different conversations.
objection.
Yep, different conversations. So when a seller says, oh my gosh, my house isn't under contract in 24 hours, did we set the expectation with them up front?
Yes.
And then,
But he
yeah,
still-
he's still, because it's the media. We're programmed by certain stimuli, and he's programmed to believe that the whole world's coming to an end. And I read a good article that said we're basically going to go back to about what it was in 2019.
Yeah, I read that article.
Oh, you read that?
I sure did.
Yeah, it was a great article.
They said that was the best year they could
Yeah,
compare.
it was kind of just like, it was a good real, yeah, it's a great real estate market.
Perfect.
Yeah, I was kind of excited when I read that. It's like, oh, okay, cool. I
Yeah,
feel
that-
good now.
That'll actually be fun.
Yeah, right before the pandemic, when everything got crazy.
That was my, yeah, that was pretty good.
So, in theory, it should be easier to convert. We'll be able to find buyers' houses, which should be nice. Houses will still sell. That's nice. I mean, that could be a good thing. It's just a matter of expectations. And then the first part of a shift, like I said in the first two sessions that I've done, is that first part that feels Like right now, you're a new buyer coming into the market. Rates are 5.25%. Okay, rates are 5.25%. I know what to expect. You came into the market 3 months ago, and you were at 3.25%, and now you're at 5.25%. You don't feel as like, oh wow, what the hell just happened? So it's that first initial push. Like sellers are still crazy. Still, even astute sellers still think their house should go under contract in 24 hours.
Well, it's not necessarily that quickly, it's getting the price too.
Oh yeah,
Because
that's
I
the
have
other
a
thing.
seller right now that got an offer. It was an okay offer. It was more than list, but she's
Yeah.
like, nope.
So it's funny you say that, Julie, because this same client, that was Saturday night, I need to drop the price by 20 grand on everything. We got an offer on one of the properties. One offer. We ended up having a showing on Sunday, so we had 2 showings all weekend.
And what was your haircut on that offer?
It was $5,000 above list price.
Yeah.
And you
it's a
know what the
keeper.
seller wanted to do? Wanted to counter them back. Let's go back to them and tell them we have multiple offers and see if we can. I'm like, okay, 2 days ago, you wanted to drop the price by 20 grand. Now we get an offer $5,000 above list price, and you want to go back to them and counter? Well, why not? Like, this is the insanity that we'll be dealing with. It makes no logical sense. I'm like, no. How are you going to feel if we go back and say, play that game with them, and they say, all right, thank you very much, bye.
Yeah.
And now you have no showing scheduled all week, by the way.
Take the
Let's do the
offer.
right thing and take the right offer and sign it fast and hard and get it back to them.
That's what I told. I said, bird in the hand is worth 2
Yeah.
in the bush.
Yeah, so once again, this is an astute seller. And if he's thinking this irrationally, what are the average sellers thinking? Oh, no, it's the first weekend on the market. I don't want to take the first offer that comes in. I'm going to get better offers, like blah, 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 blah. And then that house sits for 2 more weeks, and then interest rates go up a little bit more.
And the thing is that, yeah, we've gotten some better offers monetarily, but the terms aren't as good.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, well, what do you want to do here? I mean, like one offer I got had almost a two-month close date, and I talked to the agent and I said, yeah, we'd like to tighten that up a little bit. He said, and he didn't mark it as other on the offer. They're using
Hard money?
MMP.
Oh.
MMP. No, this is a finance. I was like, that wasn't on the offer. I said, you need to
Yeah.
disclose things like
Yeah,
that.
that's a big deal.
It is. I said, my seller needs to know things like
Yeah,
that.
that can cause all
And,
kinds of delays.
You know, I hadn't even gotten to the point of contacting the lender yet. I was just talking to the buyer's agent, and he was like, oh, well, they're using, and so they need 45 days. And I'm like, oh, no, that's way more than time than we want to give. But, yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Well, and that's why it goes a skill-based market, because you have to be willing to have these difficult conversations and not just say, yeah, okay, sure, I'll counter them back at, say we have multiple offers and we'll wait until the next offer comes in. We'll do what you say.
Exactly what you did, which is say, let's take it.
Yeah.
Yeah, take
Yeah,
it. And
but you've got to be confident enough to have that difficult conversation with somebody. Well, and you know.
Well, you've got a long history with this guy, and
Yeah.
you know, you've never said him wrong, so.
No. All right, so when it comes to lead generation, this is what we're looking for. We're looking for the motivated people. You know, if there's fewer leads that are out there, there's fewer transactions, we need to find people that are motivated. So ready, willing, and able. Ready, they have a reason or motivation to move now. Willing, they're agreeable to do whatever it takes to move now. And able, they have the financial means to proceed forward. Our time becomes our time is always limited,
yeah, but you got to be purposeful.
but you got to be very, very purposeful with your time right now. All right, this is an old class because I don't remember the last time we saw. How many people receive sign calls anymore? Does that even happen? You still get a couple here or there? You remember the days where if you had a sign in the yard, like it was like, dude, I'm good.
Oh.
Like I want to get so many people from the sign.
And I've had people, I have one listing right now where he told me straight up, I do not want a sign in
Yeah.
my yard. He's on a main road, and I'm like, are you kidding me?
And-
Yeah, I still get sign calls.
And for the newer people here, an IVR, I haven't seen one in a while, is where you would put on a sign, call
Oh, yeah.
1-800
Oh, okay.
for 24-hour information on this property.
It's like the QBR code. or whatever.
And we had those years ago before they were actually popular. It might be time to bring back the QR codes, actually. But yeah, you would actually call an 800
Yeah, a lot
number
of them do.
for pre-recorded 24-hour information on this property. Because
Yeah, I
they didn't have things like, you didn't have like,
You had writers that
you didn't
said
have
that.
this. You could just, now you just Google it. Like, who needs to do that? Offers in newspaper. All right, open houses, outbound calling. All right, so some of these things still work. Some of these things I don't know. I haven't done a newspaper ad in a while. Maybe it works again now. I don't know. I wouldn't spend a whole lot of time on that though. Don't think about how do I craft the most amazing newspaper ad. I wouldn't be doing that. Social media is not on here.
Every newspaper is now virtually available too, and so.
Yeah. Now my dad still reads a newspaper,
I
but
still read
you'd have to run the ad in the obituary section because that's what he reads every day. That and the sports section. So he's not picking up the real estate section of the newspaper. He's reading the obituaries and the sports section. Oh, and the business section. All right, phone calls, obviously. So when it comes to phone calls, like what has changed since the last shift? The biggest thing that's changed from a phone call standpoint is your actual connect rates. So I remember the days where you would, 10, 15% of people would answer their phones. What we're seeing right now, just on average, 5 to 6? 5 to 6% of people actually pick up the phone. So I think where it's coming now is more along the lines of text messaging, but just keep in mind, a day will come where that's probably going to be blocked as well. Matter of fact, I think we all actually hope that day comes.
You mean blocked in terms of,
Like it's going to come through as like saying, this text message is spam.
gotcha, okay.
Like the phones will eventually, the day will come where it's like, if you're not in my world, my phone will just say, I'm blocking you from being in my world. Maybe it'll have a spam filter in our text messages or something like that.
I didn't invite somebody to Twilio, and they stopped me the first message they got.
Yeah. So if all that happens, which I think is a matter of time, because that's what we want as consumers, we don't even, emails are getting smarter about blocking stuff out. How now will we connect with people?
Face to face.
Face to face,
That's what I do.
social media,
Yep.
and build your database.
Database and network, that's.
Yeah, like now is the time that you've got to
Take
build
your-
all of those things.
Yeah, but I don't do face-to-face on social media. I do face-to-face like this.
Oh, yeah, I do there too.
That's where I get my biggest bang.
Yeah, Jared.
Where do you think, because I assume that step 2 is going to be conversion, right? Of like the and by conversion, does that mean like the conversation of setting proper expectations?
I think it's part of
Set an
conversion, yeah.
appointment.
And then it's part of conversion.
What do you think is harder, setting the actual proper expectations in this market of like how a sale may go, or getting them to that point of where it's even a conversation? So capturing the lead or actually getting it to the closing table with a shifting market? Is it harder to capture a lead because there is less leads, or is it harder to get them to agreeably sell their home, you know, in the market?
I think it's harder to get them to that point.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's.
So capturing it.
What would you say, Julie? Phil? I think it's always harder to get the lead to the point where I have like if I get a listing agreement, like.
So when you say shift, it's not like you're going to have listing agreements that are signed that people are just, and it could, but I'm just saying most likely
You'll see a higher fallout rate.
Okay.
However, the overwhelming majority more than 50% will still make it to closing.
Okay.
So let's say it's 95% make it to closing now. Maybe that goes down to 75%, which is still bigger than 50.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what the fallout during the hot market on the buyer's side was like 30 to 40% on it.
On the buyer side, I think you'll see it in the
You're
beginning.
talking about the seller side.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Matter of fact, I've spoken to multiple agents in this office that have said they've seen 3 or 4 contracts fall apart on their. Matter of fact, my brother just went under a contract because their contract fell apart that they just submitted last week. So cold feet or whatever, all the home inspection people, you'll just see more fall through. So I think it's always harder to get the leads to that point than it is to get them from that point to closing.
Okay.
Matter of fact, I know it's always harder because if it was easier to have an abundance of buyers that are pre-approved, ready to go, and sellers that have listing agreements, then all the agents would be fat and happy because it's easy. So now this talks about put all the leads in your database. Wow. They even talk about a card file. See, I didn't make this up. The card files actually existed back then. All right, we'll skip that.
I think I've
So
indexed
we have something called command. Everybody should go into command, go into your database so you can systematically market to them. And then you should carry it with you at all times. So now we have, command mobile. So that way when we're sitting in traffic, or we're sitting there waiting for something to do, we're sitting on an open house, we can use our time efficiently. And it beats that scrap of paper. Categorizing leads. We talked about this, I think, last week. So all leads should be in some way sorted. That way you understand the sorted and prioritized. So here's a simple way. I'm not saying this has to be the way you should do it, but if they own a house, if somebody in your database owns a house, they should be in my opinion, they should be categorized as a seller. Because statistically speaking, that house will get sold. Right, Julie?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Because eventually they'll sell or they'll die.
Oh, they'll die, and their kids will sell it. Almost every person that owns a house is a seller lead. The only question that we don't know is when. Now, if somebody does not own a house, statistically speaking, what would they like to do?
Only. They're a buyer.
So they're a buyer lead. We just don't know when they're going to buy. And then, so everybody should be coded in one of those two things. It's very, very simple. If they own a house, they're a seller lead. What's their address? Now we know what to market to them. What do they want to know? What does every seller want to know? Like Zillow built their business off of this.
The Zestimate.
The Zestimate. How's the value of their asset doing? And then every buyer has an idea of a dream house. If you could move one day, where would you like to move? What would that house look like? Well, I'd like to have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath condo in Pasadena if I could move one day. Okay, great. I can set them up with what?
Search.
A search for 3-bedroom, 2-bath townhouses in Pasadena. And then I can call them quarterly and say, hey, I know that you have always dreamed about this. Here's what the market's doing in Pasadena. Anything caught your eye? Anything's coming up? Anything's changing? Just get both of these people, you can give them a market analysis. That's the easiest way to give them a quarterly phone call. Hey, by the way, I just want to update you on what the market's doing in Pasadena. Hey, by the way, I just want to update you on what the market's doing in Pasadena.
Zillow's pushing a market, evaluation to them every day.
Yeah. We're just adding the personal touch to it. And by the way, how's the wife, the kids, the job, the dog, the blah, blah, whatever it is.
And in a shifting market, those phone calls are even more important, right? Because numbers are always changing.
Yeah. Yeah, buyers, here's what interest rates are doing. Here's what we see happening on the horizon. Here's what the Fed's talking about. It's just financial
all wanna
information.
know.
Tomorrow, and I'm
They-
reevaluating
They
it right
all
now.
want to know. Saturday, all I did was, people, how's the market? How's the market? And that they all want to know.
So become the market expert and give them that information. Very, very simple. And then, so you have them coded as a buyer or a seller. Okay, great. Then whether you want to use A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, hot, warm, cold, gold, bronze, silver, you sort them in some other mechanism. That way you can very, very quickly prioritize who you're supposed to contact. So when we talked about, I think last week and the week before, was basically the 3 Ps. So if I'm looking at my day, and this should be on a spreadsheet or somewhere, I'm looking at my pendings. Then I'm going through my pipeline. Then I'm going through my prospects. And there's every morning, I'm looking at my pendings, buttoning down my pendings, making sure there's nothing that's going to fall apart. I'm going through my pipeline to make sure that my pipeline is where it needs to be, and I stay in conversation with the pipeline, making sure that it's full, and then I'm going to go through my prospects. And this, by the way, would be done like before I get into my lead generation. It's like my prep for the day. And then my prospects, which could be buyers or sellers, are then coded A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, hot, warm, cold. Pendings, you should have at least 2x, whatever your monthly expenses are at all times. So if your monthly expenses are $5,000, then you should have at least 2x in pendings at all times. Your pipeline and your pendings are going to pay you in 0 to 60 days. Your pipeline is going to pay you between 61 and 150 because your pipeline only exists of buyers that are pre-approved and shopping or sellers that you have a listing agreement signed with. That's your pipeline now. Your prospects are everybody else. So because your pipeline is going to be your cash flow between 61 and 150 days, you need a minimum of 6x in your pipeline at all times. And honestly, I don't really care how much you have in your prospect list because if you just focus on these 2 things, everything else will take care of itself. And it's 2x and 6x of what your monthly expenses are. At a minimum. This is a challenge. So, and I think this counts especially with any type of online lead generation. And it drives me nuts, by the way. If you have any type of online lead generation, you have a website, you run Google ads, you run pay-per-click, you run Facebook ads. If a lead comes in and they're at their phone or at their computer, that's the time to call them. That's why they say to do this so fast. Because if I'm sitting at my desk and I just filled out some information and you call me right away, I'm probably still sitting at my desk. You wait 10 minutes, I could be in the bathroom, I went to a meeting, the kids are yelling and screaming, and now we're playing this weird game of back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. You're going to leave me a voice message. I'm not checking my voice messages. You might send me an email. I don't even see it. So speed is important.
Yeah, that's been confirmed. Matt Berenger, who I've known pretty well, he's spent a lot of money each month on that. He said, you've got to pick up the phone call because they'll be sent to somebody else right away.
Now, I was told, like, when you're doing your 3 hours lead gen, you don't answer the phone. It's just what you're.
That's the balance. So, yeah. So that's a great question. That is and to be honest with you,
Because I always answer it. I'm sorry. I answer it. It's just
if
me.
I know, like let's say that I have it coded some ways, my online lead gen has this number that rings to me, like
Well, no, I'm not that sophisticated.
then I would be answering that phone. Like if I paid for Zillow leads and I saw that thing popped up and said Zillow, yeah, I'm stopping my lead gen and answering that phone.
Right, but I mean, I'm not that sophisticated. I don't pay for leads. I don't have an ISA or anything. So when my phone rings, if it doesn't say spam and it's not from out of state,
Yeah,
then
there's probably a reason
I
for
answer it.
Yeah, yeah, I would probably defer to that as well, to be honest with you. Oof, I hate that I said that actually.
Well, because, I've got calls from Aberdeen all the time, and there's nobody there, and I get calls from Odenton all the time, and there's nobody there. You can block the number, but that's whack-a-mole.
Now my voice message says, and I don't get voicemails, so my voice message does say, please text me. And if it's somebody that wants to actually speak with me, 99% of the time I'm going to get that text message. So I may let it roll over to the voice message and then wait for the text message. But if that text message comes through, I'm probably going to respond right away. Hey, I'm in a meeting right now. Can I call you at 12? If they say no, or do you need me to step out? If they say they need me to step out, because once again, an incoming call, and if I know it's a lead, that's the tricky part, because I don't want to answer it for I'm getting Senior Health that calls me like 3 times, I guess because I'll be 50 tomorrow, so does that make me a
Happy
senior?
birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
Does that actually make me a senior?
You're eligible for AARP.
At 50?
Yeah. I've had AARP.
Phil, you just ruined my day, buddy. Actually, I'm going to tell you a funny story.
Your hair's grayer than mine anyway,
So
it ruined my day. It ruined my day 9 years ago.
It's not bad being senior.
I got one worse than that.
You're in your fucking 50s.
This is worse. So I was on a Twitter space yesterday for a couple hours. Long story, but never mind. I don't need to get in. Let's just imagine a conference call for a couple hours. And Nicole was like, when the hell are you going to be off this conference call? Like 10 minutes. Like, give me 10 more minutes. And then I tell the people on the conference call, I got to go. Like, wife needs me to go. And she says, you do realize, John, that you probably only have about 25 more summers left. She was like, so you need to think about how you're prioritizing your time. The weather's getting nice, and are you going to spend all summer on the phone? Because you only have about 25 left. And I was like, what a horrible thing to say. Like, who would tell somebody that? Like, you only got like 25 chances of this left. Like, but I guess in theory, she's right. So if I know that by making a cold call or any type of outbound call, I have a 5 to 6% success rate of them answering, and someone is calling me, I have a 100% chance of connecting. If I know it's a lead, I'm definitely picking up that phone.
Well, now the other thing too is like, you're calling your database. It's like, hey, you're leaving a voice message. Hey, Jump Julie, just wanted to let you know what's happening in your neighborhood, and give me a call. And they call back. You want to pick it up.
Yeah.
You don't want to.
Because or else you're stuck in this place where it's like, now I got to play this game again.
Yeah.
I got to call you back, leave a voice message, and I'm stuck like, okay, well, what if they don't call me back in 24 hours? Do I call them again? Does that sound like a nuisance?
Like, hey, we're not doing anything, but I know my neighbor's going to do something.
And I almost think, Julie, that that's like a shift from 15 years ago. Because I think 15 years ago, people answered their phones and they read emails. And I would say, like, so when you ask that question, would you stop your lead generation? My first thought process is, no, you absolutely do never stop your lead generation.
Right.
But now that we have this conversation, I'm like, no, because it's so hard to get a hold of people now. If a prospect is calling me back, I'm probably going to stop my lead gen and answer that phone, because it may take me a week to get back a hold of them again. So thank you for asking that question. I think I just learned something actually just talking that through.
I know it's not the Gary way, but
Well, I mean,
I
but
had the
everything
discussion-
changes. Like,
I had the discussion with my coach because he was the same way. You just need to call. I said, well, wait a minute. I call, I leave a message, they call me back. I should answer the phone
Yeah.
when they call back.
and I'm, once again, just through this conversation, because I know how hard it is to get a hold of people. If somebody's calling me, and once again, and I know it's not a spam call or the senior health people, I'm answering that phone.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time when I'm making my calls, I'm either using my cell phone, so they know who it is. But a lot of times they know because Keller Williams will pop up on my office phone. Some people answer Keller Williams and some won't.
That's a great question, though. I like that. All right, so reason for the and this is where it goes back to, at the end of the day, what did we break everything down to? Like your coach may be coaching you on having so many conversations a day, and we reverse engineered that and said, no, right, Cole? Appointments. All we care about now is the end goal. So that if that means you have to have 5,000 conversations to hit your goal, then have 5,000 conversations. If it means you got to have 2 to hit your goal, then have 2 to hit your goal. We care about the appointments, not as much the conversations. So if I know by answering that phone call, I can get to that one appointment. Okay, cool, I'm hitting my goal. So now for us, it's all about how many appointments do you need per week to hit your goal. Motivated appointments. All right, move buyers to pre-approval. We understand that, so I'm going to skip it. Oh, so for buyer or seller, this is LP Mama. Everybody know what LP Mama is? Location, price, motivation, agent, mortgage, appointment. You never heard that one before, Julie?
No.
All right.
What'd you call it?
LP Mama.
No.
You know how we like our acronyms.
Yeah.
So location, where are you looking to move? Price. What's your ideal monthly payment that you're looking for?
$1,000.
Why are you looking to move? Yeah, we get some of those, don't we? Why are we looking for those? By the way, are you working with an agent at this time? Actually, and I wouldn't even say, are you working with an agent? Because the answer is going to be yes. Are you under an exclusive representation agreement with an agent? Then usually they will say, what is that? Because most agents don't make people sign it.
Then it would be no.
Yeah.
You wouldn't say, have you signed an agreement for representation?
Are you under an exclusive buyer representation agreement?
Okay.
Most people will say, I have no idea what that is.
An easy way for them to say no as well is giving them the opt-out of saying, or are you just early in the process?
Yeah.
And most people do, I'm just early in the
Yeah.
process.
I like that. So if it's a seller, like, do you have a mortgage? If it's a buyer, like, will you be paying cash for the property, or will you be applying for a mortgage?
Yeah, I always ask
And then
that.
go
Is it
for an
will you
appointment.
pay in cash?
Yeah.
Well, no, I'll need a mortgage. So that way you're not insinuating that, you're not saying, oh, well, you've got to get pre-approved first.
Yeah, perfect, exactly. Now, if it's a seller, location, you probably have it. Where are they living? What's the location of the house we're looking to sell? Have they thought about a price range in mind? You checked Zestimate or Redfin or any of these online sites? Well, why are you looking to sell? Have you signed an exclusive listing agreement, or are you interviewing other agents? What's your mortgage amount? And then go for an appointment. So LP Mama, we're just trying to get those information so that we can get to the appointment. So we make sure that we're not setting appointments with people that are not qualified to meet with, which once again is critically important in this market. Because you'll see people, if you don't ask this question from a seller in this market, 9 times out of 10, people have an idea of what they think their house is worth.
Absolutely, they do.
Yeah, if I can get $500 for it, like, I'm good. And we're looking at the math, and we're like, this is a $400,000 house. Like, no, I'm not going on that appointment because I'm wasting my time.
I had a listing appointment yesterday, and I asked him, I said, what do you think it's worth? And he's like, oh, God, I don't know. That's why I have you out here.
Yeah, we get that one a lot.
So we went, we walked around, I didn't dress, so we finished up, and we're talking. I said, so what do you think your house is worth? He said, well, I'm thinking this. And I'm like, you're spot on.
Yeah.
You know, I'm thinking I gave him a range. I said between this and this, you know, just depends. Are you gonna do everything we talked about?
Yeah.
And you be at the higher end. You're not, you're at the lower.
Yeah. And what we've done is before we go for the appointment, like let's say that they do say, well, that's what I'm looking for you for. We're not going for the appointment right away. We're going for what, Cole? A findings call. So a findings call is no obligation. It's easy. We're essentially just taking them to, hey, listen, why don't we do this? We try and gather as much information as we can. You know, in this process, condition of the property, you know, timelines, all these different things. So why don't I just do some preliminary research, and then we can schedule a time on Thursday, and I can review with you my findings instead of going right for the listing appointment, because it's just more easy, non-obligational. And then the findings call, we go over the market with them, go over some numbers, and then we go for the appointment.
And you also establish yourself as the expert at that point.
Yeah.
So build
Yeah.
trust moving forward.
Yeah, here's what the market's doing. So in the findings call, we explain our findings. Here's what the market's doing. Here's where we see the prices, et cetera, et cetera. We find that it just prevents us from going out on appointments that we shouldn't be going on. I don't think an agent should ever leave the office or their office unless they're making money. Because the minute they go out that door, especially with gas prices at $5.25 a gallon, we start losing money, so we don't have time to waste. Did I set that, or did you set that?
You said that.
Ah,
That's
see.
a good time to,
I'm getting skilled. We've already done this stuff for sellers, asked for the appointment. All the information in your database, every conversation should be recorded in your database. I don't care what it is. You talk about the Redskins, had a conversation about the Redskins, blah, 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 blah. That way when you call them, yeah, the last time we spoke, you were talking about the Redskins, da, 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 da. Oh, yeah, yeah,
the Washington football team.
yeah. Oh, yeah,
No,
sorry.
The skins.
I'm
you're
sorry.
right.
I'm old school. Relationships, so when it comes to your database, it's what we call a 36 touch. That's how we cultivate them. One of the things that we've done, in addition to using some tools that are inside Command, like the neighborhood nurtures, is we just do a quick little video. A quick little video of here's what we're seeing in the market, and we just send it out to them. So it's a monthly market update, but it's done in video versus just static form. Our conversion rates have gone up tremendously since we started doing that, versus just a still email.
And you sending that through email, or you sending that
Yep.
on social media?
Through email.
Okay.
Yeah. Just set up your phone. Hey, by the way, this is Bob, John Newman, Keller Williams. Here's what we're seeing in the market right now. Let me know if you have any questions. Because they attach a face to it. And the open rate's going to be higher for a video than it is going to be for just a still piece of work. So just requires us to get a little bit uncomfortable and be in front of a camera. So they talk about old days, 8x8, 33 touch. We have a 36 touch now. So 36 touch. So 36 touch, just however you want to do it. But the phone calls have to be quarterly. So every 90 days, you have the conversation, you talk about the Washington football team, you literally put in your calendar, 90 days from now, I'm calling this person back. And an easy thing to call them with is, hey, by the way, just want to update you on here's what the market's doing right now. By the way, how the wife, kids, dog, pets, da, da, da. I'll talk to you in 90 days. Because I want to make sure that I'm the #1 resource for real estate related information. As it pertains to appointments, some changes that we've seen recently since this was last written was something called Zoom. So there's, I haven't worked with a buyer in a while, but if I were working with a buyer, intake phone call, Zoom buyer consultation is where I'm going next. I'm probably not going to say, hey, why don't you drive from Pasadena 30 minutes out of your way?
Choice.
Oh, I love that, Julie.
Do you want to meet me at my office and go over everything? Or
We can do a Zoom.
prefer
Beautiful.
Zoom?
I love that. Love that.
And
How do you deal with the personal safety and security aspect of that? Because somebody you know, obviously, but if it's not somebody you know really
Well, if they're at the office, I'm safe.
right, that's what I'm saying.
And if I'm doing it on Zoom,
You're safe, but when you go to the house, you haven't kind of vetted that person.
well,
yet.
that's why I want to.
you want
Okay,
to,
okay,
no, you want
I'm
them to
sorry.
come to
There's
your gas.
there's very, very few people, if they are serious and motivated,
They will come.
that they won't do a Zoom call
Sure.
or a Google Hangout or a Google Meet. Like, there's just, why wouldn't you spend 10 minutes, hop on your phone, like, if they're serious? All right, conversion, I think it's just know the numbers. I think that's the most important thing that you can do right now, know the numbers. And Julie, you said this, like I've told people, finance.yahoo.com every morning. Just take 10 minutes or Mortgage News Daily, either one of them, Mortgage News Daily you can subscribe to. 10 minutes, get a high-level overview of what the economy is doing. And know your numbers. Like, we have to convert every one of these people, so the practice and the preparation that we need before we go into a listing appointment or into that buyer consultation is critically important. If you want to take it to the next level, you start tracking all this data so you know your conversion rates, but that's next level. Don't lose any leads because they are precious, because they're fewer and far between. And then get to the table, the right table, which is the closing table. So I think the next one is going to be on buttoning down the transaction. That's where it comes back to like paying a lot of attention to what's under contract, setting proper expectations with both buyers and sellers so that we don't just get them under contract, we actually get them to closing. Like, it's funny, 6 months ago, people were saying, you know, oh, VA buyers, da-da-da-da-da-da. Watch. Now it's going to be like, oh yeah, I want all the VA buyers you got because they need to live somewhere. They're motivated. We actually, the one contract that we took was a contingent home sale. And I told the seller, their house is going to close. They've got nowhere to go. They're in. They're motivated. Would have never said that 3 months ago. Sellers, the biggest challenge that we're going to have is they're not going to want to price the properties correctly. They're going to want to overprice properties.
Okay, so can we talk about that for a minute?
Yeah.
Okay, so I walked away from, I went and I met, it was sort of a past client. Her ex-boyfriend was a client, and they were going to buy together, but then they broke up. But I still stayed in touch with her. She called me, she said, I want to sell. I went over with the paperwork, because she had already signed a listing agreement with me like a year earlier. And went over there, and I did my homework, and I took her the comps and this, that, and the other. And I said, you know, your house is in really good shape, but it's only 2-bedroom, this, that, and the other. And here's what the comps are saying. And she's like, oh, I can't sell it that. And I'm like, well, what do you mean you can't sell it that? I mean, the high, for number's sake, I want to say was like maybe 292.
Uh-huh.
And she said, oh, I have to have 310 or 315. And I'm like, I'm not seeing it. I mean, this is it. It was in a cookie cutter neighborhood. So she said, okay, I'll think about it. And I followed up with her about 3 days later. No, she got somebody from Douglas that was willing to
List it at 310.
and sold it for 310.
Wow.
Sold it for 310. And so what I have done after learning that hard lesson was if they want to sell and it's not too far off the charts, it's like, I don't see it. You know, this is how you're going to have an
Try it.
appraisal.
Yeah.
It may not appraise. I'm willing to try it because I can't tell you what to list your house at. But if we don't have an acceptable offer in 2 weeks, then we need to revisit, and you need to come to me.
But
you know.
that was not during this current market.
No, yes.
Yes, it was,
Oh,
okay.
yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
because the fear is if you overprice, you won't get tons of.
Yeah, I think it's I think that's the right way to approach it, is have the conversations. Okay, if we're willing to try this, are you willing
Yeah.
to come down, let's say in 14
Well,
days?
The question I ask them is, what if you don't get that price? You know, what's your plan? What if, you know, we listed, 2 weeks go by, you've had 3 showings, which you should have 5 a week.
Yeah.
You know, how are you gonna feel? You know, what's your contingency plan at that point?
Yeah, I think that's
And
a great question.
They always say, oh, well, then I'll lower it.
Yeah.
But they tell you that. So I write it in the contract.
I think that's the way to do
We don't have
it.
an offer within and we work it out. It's agreeable. I tell them, look, if your house is priced right, good move-in condition, you're already in a good location,
Yeah.
you're gonna get an offer the first 2
If,
weeks.
if I'm working with an analytical, a numbers guy, I say, well, okay, well, what's the best case scenario? What's the worst case scenario? What are you gonna do if you get the best case
Yeah.
scenario? What are you gonna do? What's the upside, what's the down, best case scenario, worst case scenario?
Yeah.
What are you gonna do if you get worst case scenario? That's,
Because that's the interesting thing in a shifting market. Once again, I know we only had 1 showing on this house in Glen Burnie, 2 in the whole entire weekend, but the other agent wrote $5,000. Matter of fact, with an escalation clause too,
Yeah.
above list price. So not everybody knows that the market's changing. Some people are still.
paid for a house and bid it up.
Yeah, see, some people are still thinking. So you have this weird.
Yeah, it's different dynamics out there.
Yeah.
So I don't wanna lose, but then again, I'm not gonna put a house on the market that's overpriced. I'm gonna burn my marketing dollars up advertising for a client that's not.
Could be some hyper-localness in it too.
100%.
Yeah.
True that.
I think it's a matter of having the conversation. Just have the conversation up front. Obviously, we don't want to work with buyers that aren't ready financially. Now, I don't understand why I need to sell a house. That's not that big of a deal. Matter of fact, it's probably I think you'll see more of these people that now say, oh, okay, cool. Like, I might be able to sell my house and not have to worry about where am I going to move because contingent offers will come back.
Right.
I think the biggest thing is to know your numbers. And once again, I'll go back to like the 3 Ps. I think that's, if you walk away and only understand the 3 Ps, I think this has been very, very valuable. Know your pendings, know your pipeline. It's 2X, it's 6X. And if you're always there, you're probably in pretty decent shape. And then track those numbers. So like have a board or have something like that you look at every single day, my pendings, my pipeline, my prospects. Bottom line, fewer leads, spend time converting the few that are there, and make sure you're only working with the motivated ones. Like, so Keller Williams Flagship, do we have a community here? How have we built a community of people that are together? What can you do creatively to build a community? Julie, what percentage of your clients come from yard sales?
About a third.
About a third. Could you build a community around people that have something to do with yard sales? I'm just spitballing that. You do a lot of estate sales. Mm-hmm. Could you build some sort of community? I don't know what the answer is, but you need to be thinking about community. Think about how are you building community to keep them attached to you where you're at the forefront of that community. In the old days, it could be like a Facebook group. That could still, and not even the old days, that could still be a community. Jumpin' Julie's group, VIP client group, something that by keeping them in a community, they get some sort of intrinsic value. You all have to think through what that's going to be. Leads and inquiries. All right, so when it comes to internet lead generation, number 1 is speed to lead. Speed to lead. And I would even say 5 minutes is probably too long now. I mean, our attention span now, 5 minutes is a lifetime.
Yeah, when you put your name in an insurance database or a car website, you're gonna have a call in minutes.
Yeah, and it should be.
Not true. Not true.
Car website maybe.
It should be
The insurance,
seconds.
You're gonna get 500 insurance calls.
Oh, no, I tell you what, mortgage.
Yeah, that too. Yep.
So here's the challenge of that we have is, and Julie, I know you were in a class where I talked about myself. Like my wife's been looking at houses for 5 years. She was. 5 years she'd been looking for houses. But I had no intentions of ever moving until my kids were off and away to college. However, so she started her search 5 years ago. And I mean, we closed a year ago or a year and a half ago, I guess. However, people that are looking online are not ready necessarily to transact. A small percentage of them maybe 3/4 to 1% are ready to do business now. The rest of them are just looking. And that's where agents, I jokingly say, but I think I'm halfway serious, agents like one-night stands. They don't like relationships. Like we want a lead that comes in and says, I'm ready to go right now. And those leads, but we don't want to pay for those leads either, because those leads are very, very, very expensive. So we've got to have systems in place to nurture leads for an extended period of time. And that's the frustrating part. But it's really nothing more than great systems. And if we had nothing in delivering something of value. So what are you delivering of value to people to keep them coming back, to get them looking forward to the next phone call or the next email or the next text message? And once again, these are for people that don't already know you, like you, and trust you. If they know you, like you, and trust you, you call them or text message them, they're probably going to call you or text message you back. So when it comes to internet people, these are people that don't already know you, like you, and trust you. But if you think about your business, if we need more leads, and we're database dependent, our business is database driven, which is a great thing, but we're going to have to do what? Increase the size of our database. So if our database, if we analyze our business and say, okay, I generated X number of transactions last 3 years, my database is this big, you're going to need to grow that database now. So in internet, Facebook, social media is the cheapest places to get these leads. Just remember, it's not going to be the same as your friend calling you saying, hey, I'm ready to buy a house. It's different. Utilize technology. You could do something as simple as, because I want to control my calendar as well. Wow, it says EH. A Zoom home buyer workshop. Every Friday, a Zoom seller forum, a Zoom seller mastermind, a Zoom buyer mastermind, a Zoom whatever. Like you could, something where you can get the community to come in to leverage your time, to keep them attracted and engaged inside your community. Friday night, home buying and brews, or whatever. You come up with some little catchy name where people can tune in every Friday. Just think about like your own little television series. I'm not going to talk about a website. All right, capture, connect, cultivate, convert. We kind of covered that last time. So the first thing is capture the leads. So we have that with Command, different lead capture forms. You know, connect with them, have a conversation, cultivate them over time, and then convert them. Average time for an internet lead, it could be 12 to 18 months. 12 to 18 months for nurturing before they can actually go to a closing. Now, 1% of them may be ready to go now. But think about, let's say you could generate 100 leads on through Command with Facebook ads for about $150. So that's going to give you about 100 leads. But you've got to go through all 100 of them to find that 1% that's ready to transact now. The other 99% will be future business. And that's the part that we don't want to have to do, most agents. MOFers, this is brilliant. Make offer for immediate response. An example of a MOFer is, would you like to know the value of your house? They say yes. You make an offer to them. They say yes. It elicits an immediate response. There are probably some MOFers that you could do for buyers. Would you like to get my list of houses that are off the MLS? Would you like to have a list of all the houses that are coming soon in this neighborhood? because coming soon properties are not displayed on sites like Zillow and Redfin and Trulia. Would you like to have a list of bank-owned, I mean, we don't see this much anymore. Used to be a good mofer. Bank-owned properties in your area. That's usually that one will get a really, really good response. Challenge is there aren't really any bank-owned properties out there. Would you like to have a list of the top deals I've seen this week in the real estate market? That one usually everybody wants a deal.
Top deals, like the most expensive, or?
The deals, like the best deals. Like if you come across a house and it looks like it's undervalued, just do a quick search for estate sales in the MLS. Usually those are the best deals that are out there right now.
Gotcha. Okay.
And what we're seeing right now, you're probably seeing this, Jules. You do a lot of estate sales.
I got one right now. I listed Saturday. My phone has not stopped ringing.
Yeah.
That's why I left it in the other room.
Buyers right now, are willing to look at houses that are priced right that need work, whereas that, because there's a shortage of inventory and they're now priced right.
And this particular house, it's move-in ready. It's just old.
Dated, grandma's house.
And the thing is, all the systems are old. So FHA and VA requires they have 3 years of useful life left. The
so
hot water heater's not rusting, but it was 2003.
So you gotta sell a 203K loan.
And everybody's called me. Well, my VA, I said, it won't pass. My buyer's going, I got an offer. I have it right on the listing. Will not pass FHA or VA appraisal. I still got FHA offers. I'm like, seriously?
A Best Buy list, it's covered some of them.
Best Buy, okay.
Yeah, here's the Best Buys that I've seen this week. I mean, it's just anything to elicit, hey, I'd like more information. All you're trying to do is shake out, and once again, we're talking about internet leads. If I have 100 internet leads of people, I'm trying to make some offer for that 1 or 2 people to raise their hand to show that they're further down that funnel, that buying funnel. So any offer that I can make to get them to say, hey, I'd like more information about that. Great. When's a good time? Every one of these. Great. You'd like a list of foreclosures in your area? There's so many foreclosures around so many areas. Like, when's a good time for me to call you so that I can get your criteria? Because I don't want to send you foreclosures that are $1 million if you're looking at houses that are $200,000. Whatever it is. Any one of these is going to start, great, when's a great time for us to connect so I can get a little bit more information about what you're looking for. I don't know what that is. This is old registration forms. There are neat tools now that we can use to slide dial. So slide dial, you can put in a bunch of phone numbers and it'll just drop, it'll go right to voice message. You don't even have to call them. It'll just drop 100 voice messages. Automated text messaging features, things like that. Just be careful of the automated text messaging features. We haven't seen it. Sometimes they can look spammy, so just be careful of those.
Because they make you set up another number that doesn't look anything like it.
Yeah. Email, okay, just be careful. Like Jeff, what were our open rates of email versus text message?
Very low compared to text.
Yeah. Maybe a fifth.
Yeah.
I mean,
out of 19,000 emails, I think maybe 500 were actually open.
That was 19,000?
Out of 19,000.
Yeah. We see the same thing in the office. People don't read emails anymore.
No.
I do.
I got a text from somebody last week that said, I sent you 4 emails in the last 2 weeks. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I wasn't looking for your emails, so that's why I didn't see them,
And I'm seeing more and more that a text message, hey, by the way, I sent you an email.
That's exactly it.
Keys to connecting, we're repeating some of the same things. Respond as quickly as possible and then provide real value. Canned things are not as effective as they used. Remember in the old days, Julie, our 12 touch would be oh, it's spring. Here's a list of cute flowers or whatever that, recipe, our newsletter, we'd have a little newsletter and have recipes. I'm not saying they're not effective, but most people, I can Google that. Like, give me something that I can't do a 30-second Google search and find out for myself. Like
That program is called Slide Out.
Slide Dial, yeah.
Oh, Slide Dial.
Yeah.
Slide.
And there's a couple of them that are out there.
Dial slide.
What's the point of connecting? LP Mama. Identify motivation. Build a relationship. Get to an appointment. Call back 3 to 7 minutes. 10 days of pain. So for internet leads, and if you Google this, you'll find different examples. 10 days of pain is basically like over 10 days. It might be 5 text messages, 5 emails, and 3 phone calls. Like sometimes people, I always hear this a lot from agents. Well, I'm going to be bothering them. Okay, well, you don't know them. It's not like this is like my best friend, like I'm doing this to. I'm trying to shake out the bushes to see what falls out.
If they don't want to hear from you.
Yeah, they'll say
let you
stop.
know.
And I'm like, okay, great, awesome. I got you off my list, so I don't have to worry about you anymore.
Yeah, when they tell you to drop dead.
Perfect, that's a win.
Yep.
That's a win.
Yeah, because that's on.
Give me a yay or give me a nay. Either one's okay.
Next, please.
Yep. Be careful of if you are doing any type of cold calling and stuff like that. Now, if internet leads come in, they've opted in. Every lead capture thing out there right now has an opt-in. However, if you're cold calling people, just be careful of or cold texting people. That's the next big thing that's coming about now.
I'm so tired
Can Spam Act.
of I don't know who it is. We Buy Houses or whatever.
Market Pro probably.
Yeah, maybe that's who
I
it
get a
is.
letter from them every week.
Oh no, I get a text from them, and the last one I got, because every time I do, I'm like, please take me off your
Yeah.
list. I'm a realtor.
So,
Take me off your list.
you know, it's
The last one I said, if you don't take me off your list, I'm calling the FCC.
yeah,
I'm so
it's a
tired.
$5,000 fine.
Yeah. Oh, hey, if it happens
For
again, I am.
unwarranted
I'm
text
calling- is that
messages.
So they
you
must-
call FCC?
They must have to sell a lot of car warranties to pay $5,000 fines. On.
Well, if they get reported, 99% of people never report somebody. And then you got to follow through with the whole process. Like, it's not as easy as like, okay, I hit a real estate complaint, that's easy. A canned spam complaint, that's
No,
hard.
real estate complaint isn't that easy anymore.
There isn't a button on the site that I can just hit and file a complaint?
You have to fill out stuff now.
All
I'm
right.
telling you, because Ken told me to do something, and he said, all you got to do is pull it up on a multiple list, and you hit a button. And we went in there to do it. Oh, no.
Oh, it's not that? Oh, well, good. Because it used to be easy.
And you know what? Snitches get stitches. I don't know.
So the purpose of cultivation is, think about it this way, to deliver consistent value. Like, what am I doing to deliver value? And however you want to do that. But it needs to be valuable. Once again, and I would consider value something that I can't get by doing a 30-second Google search.
How many people would come to a buyer seminar if it was here versus what you said doing it?
Oh, yeah, you'd get a lot more in Zoom.
Yeah.
Especially,
Partner
well,
with a
think about it
lender,
this way.
yeah.
How many people would go on essentially a blind date versus, let me meet you online first? Because that's what you're asked from an internet lead standpoint. To get them to come somewhere, it's like a blind date.
What's that site called? It starts with a T.
Uh,
Yeah, it's a dating site.
swipe,
Tinder.
Tinder.
That's the one.
Swipe right.
My son does Tinder.
So I'll tell you a funny story about Tinder, actually. I was playing with somebody else. I never knew what Tinder was. So I was playing with somebody else's Tinder. I never knew what it was. And I'm like, and they're like, dude, you're messing up the algorithm. I'm like, what are you talking about? He was like, it's a numbers game. You can't be picky. I'm like, oh, that's just like real estate. You can't be picky. Like, it's just a numbers game. Anyway.
80%, 10% you can change.
Yeah.
10% you-
80-20 rule, man. 80-20 rule.
Okay.
Focus on the appointments.
Wow, I guess.
Focus on the appointments. Know your numbers. How many appointments do you need? And this should just be like ingrained into your mind. How many appointments do you need this week to hit your goals? Bottom line, how many appointments do I need this week to hit my goals? And if you want to be conservative, an appointment is a face-to-face, couldn't be Zoom, conversation with someone about buying or selling a house. Not I'm going out for a cup of coffee with my buddy. from this standpoint, an appointment is a two-way, face-to-face, can be digitally, conversation with someone that's looking to buy or sell a house. Essentially, most of you are probably looking at 2 appointments a month.
A week.
A week? Well, you have big goals, though. I know your goals. Your goals are big. So but know your number. Just how many appointments do I need? And then that should be programmed into your mind. And then what will happen is your reticular activator system will start focusing on one thing, and it's the number of appointments that I need, not the number of conversations that I need. And it's a mindset shift, because if you're focusing on conversations, the win is I got to my conversation number. If you're focusing on appointments, the win is did I get to my appointment number, which means that you may shorten the conversations if you know it's not going to lead to an appointment.
Which makes you more purposeful.
Which will make you more purposeful, exactly.
But on the flip side, your other person might feel.
Yeah, don't be
slight.
rude. And once again, it's we've all had these people, and it's like they're just rambling. Like they're just, hey, by the way, somebody just stepped into my office. Can I give you a call back? Hey, by the way, I've got a meeting that starts in 10 minutes. Hey, by the way, I use this one. My wife is blowing up my phone, or my kids are blowing up my phone.
Oh, good.
Can I call you back?
Middle note.
So I always want to have
I
always want to have that out of a conversation when someone is starting to go, well, yeah, if I did now you can't do that with any of you all. Bottom line is, I want to understand.
Yeah,
we want both.
Don't work no more, John.
Nope. We want both. But the most important thing I'm looking for is the number of appointments. And I think that's actually going to be it for this one. Yeah, this is a fast one. Any questions?
I don't know. I just like I think Wendy said she's doing something this week.
I don't know if it's going to be this week, but the dialogues and the
Yeah.
conversations.
Yeah.
I think what we're going to try and do for that is actually put together a panel.
You done? Sorry, I just want to make sure the stream is here.
Oh, yeah. That's it, everybody. Thank you for showing up, and we are out.